Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hi friends, welcome into my September TBR, and today I'm really feeling the fall vibes. I dug out one of my fall long sleeve shirts. We'll see if it comes to bite me though, filming without the air conditioning on. I had it blasting up until I hit record, so we'll see if I can make it. I think this video shouldn't be too long today though. I mean, mark my words, we'll see what happens. But September has or is taking shape to be not too overwhelming in the book department anyway. I mean, I've said that before, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to get into what my TBR is, and then at the end I'll talk about a couple of other things possibly happening in September. I need to get some feedback on that first because I'm still pretty undecided about some things coming up, but yeah, it's looking like another month where I'm going to take it easy because coming up in October, that will not necessarily be a possibility because October is double, triple, quadruple stacked with things to get through. So let's start off with my Patreon reads and then we'll get into the few books that are on my ARC list / ones I want to read when they come out. And then we'll get into some of my transient TBR of what I'm going to get into, as well as the book that some of you actually voted on for me to read in the last kind of quarter of the year. So I'm looking forward to that. So starting off with the few Patreon books that I'll have to read for the first time, including the group book, which the topic for September's exclusive review is taboo / forbidden. And the book that got voted on was Little Stranger by Lee Rivers. Now, I don't know anything about this. I've never read a Lee Rivers. I have no clue. But I know particularly some people on my Patreon have been wanting me to try Lee Rivers for a really long time. And I mean, you guys know I'm pretty much open to anything. And, you know, I have read some pretty dark books lately that I found very intellectually interesting. And especially with the discourse around Haunting Adeline, where people have been, wanting to trash people for reading dark romance. You guys know that just gets my dander up like nothing else because I'm like, you so are missing the point. So it gets me excited to try other types of dark romance, to have those discussions, because when anyone wants to put down readers for liking a certain thing or getting excited about a certain type of thing, I mean, it immediately makes me want to fight back against that stigma. So I'm very excited to give that one a go. Some other ones for Patreon that I'll be reading for the first time. The rest are all rereads or ones that I'll just be transferring annotations for them. But I will be reading Bound to the Battle God by Ruby Dixon. I have read another book in this series before, but it was a long time ago. So I don't know how those are connected or if they are at all. I don't even know, but one of my patrons really wanted me to do that one, so I'm going to do that one. Then I will be continuing I forgot what the series title is, but it's the series by Brooke Montgomery, her current one. A few of these books have gotten delayed, but the last one, Take My Kiss, was my favorite one in the series. So Take My Soul is supposed to drop in the next couple of days. Actually, it maybe will be out by the time this video goes up, but for September, I'll be reading and annotating that for someone. But then I will be continuing with the Tal Bauer series, the Executive Office series, and be doing Enemy Within, which is that series that is the president and his Secret Service. So very excited to do that because the Enemy Within will be the book that I hadn't read yet. So I haven't read Enemy of My Enemy yet as of filming this, but I had read that one before when I read Enemies of the State. I read Enemies of the State and Enemy of My Enemy, and I don't know that the other one was out yet when I read it. I don't know. Or maybe I had just gotten a little bit bored, because I do know that, and I was remembering that when I was reading Enemies of the State, is that the political part of it isn't my favorite. I don't love reading political thrillers or like political intrigue in a contemporary. Like, put it in a fantasy, put it in like, you know, dystopian or anything like that. Ooh, it must be serious now. The cop cars are going. I'm sorry. It's always something when you're filming, right? And so it's a big part of the book. And while I really appreciate Tal Bauer, like, writing that as a queer story or a gay romance, that doesn't mean I necessarily love that part of it, but that's how I felt back then, when I didn't finish the series. But I'm completing this series for one of my patrons, and I want to know how I feel about it as a whole, because y'all know how I feel about Tal Bauer. I mean, he can drag me through just about anything, because the romance, the way, this is how I explain it, the way you're compensated for whatever you're put through with Tal Bauer is how deeply romantic his romances are. So whatever you get put through for political intrigue or stress or drama, he compensates you heartily in the romantic side of it. So I'm more than happy to see what Ethan and, oh shucks, I forgot his name. But anyway, what Ethan and Jack, that's what it is, right? Ethan and Jack are going through. So those will be the ones for Patreon that I'll need to read for the first time. Okay, now getting into the new releases. Now, I'll just mention this one quickly, mostly because I just got the physical copy in, but I will be reading this one in the next few days because it comes out on September 1st, and I'm on the ARC team, so I'll be reading it early. But on September 1st, The Daddy's Girl comes out by Sarah Kate, and I just have to say, being on her ARC team and being able to get a character arc of these is just so worth it. This is so beautiful. So this one is Amelia Cade, which is the other child of, like, look at what came with this. I mean, come on. This is the other child of Ronan and Daisy. So, like, Julian was in the last one. So, yeah, this is the other child of Daisy and Ronan, and I believe this is her, like, her godfather. So, yeah, very, very excited to read this, and I have the audio of this one. So, but anyway, this is in my August TBR technically, but I'm just letting you guys know about it, that this comes out in September. I'm very excited to talk about it. But other books that I have ARCs for, or will be doing ALCs for, or things like that. So we have Peaks and Promises by Claire Kingsley. This will be the 6th and last book in the Haven Brothers series. Very much can't wait to find out more about Reese and what's up with him. I believe this one is a single mom who is kind of like on the run situation here. Sorry, I do have my fan. It is getting warm quick. Best I be moving through these. So I have the ALC and the ARC of this one. I should be getting a physical ARC of this one from Source Books as well. So looking forward to that. But I love her audiobooks for these. And I think there's like, this one has a third voice listed as well. So very excited what that means for this one. Then, there are really not a ton in September that I will have ARCs for, so, which I'm excited about, by the way, because not even all the books coming out in September am I planning to have ARCs for. I did just recently do the anticipated releases video, which has more September releases in it than ones that I'm getting ARCs for, just want to point out. But then the next one is Forever Offsides by Jay Shaman, and this one I had talked about as well. That is a forbidden ex-boyfriend's dad. You guys know, doesn't take much to convince me of this. This I just found out in that anticipated reads video what the tropes were for this one, because this one I believe is supposed to be a nurse and a football coach, And yeah, I believe that's what this one's supposed to be. But either way, yeah, it's her ex-boyfriend's dad, and it's gonna be so good. So I already love Jay Shaman, and those tropes make me happy. Then Kiss of Black Flames by Helen S. This one, as I mentioned, it is not for sure that I'm getting an arc of this. I haven't heard anything. Like, I'm still a part of the Nerd Fam, I believe, but I haven't gotten an arc from them in a long time. They have so many people as a part of their group now, and you guys know I already try to be picky about the fantasies that I ask for, just because fantasy isn't always my taste, and so I don't like to ask for them if I'm not getting them, you know. And a couple years ago, I asked for a lot of different arcs from the Nerd Fam, and then I never got around to them. So I just don't like to do that. But this was one that I really wanted because I have read all of, well, not all of them, but like the previous series from Helen. I just gobbled it up. And this is her like new one coming out. And, but as I said, I will get the audiobook for this one if I don't get an arc, and I will listen to it. So then we had a little bit of a surprise. So as soon as I had put out my anticipated releases post, as soon as I put out the video, which this book was still in the video because it was set for October, but this author pulled it up. Now, what was funny about it, so this is the thing about loving indie authors, right? It's so great, is that this was already set to come earlier than it was originally listed, because this author always does this, and I wish this was something that you know, and I think they will learn it. Like, I'll just say it, it's Julia Wolf, right? Julia Wolf has been publishing now for many years, and she has had to postpone books before. And to prevent herself from ever having to cancel a release, she always puts her books out now further than they will need to be, usually months further out. So you'll see when she puts a book out, the pre-order, she puts it out way further ahead than it needs to be. And very often she pulls it forward. Like, I think there's only been once in the like 4 or 5 years that I've been reading her now where she hasn't pulled the book forward. And that's because, yeah, then some stuff started happening in her family. And so she kept the book's release date at that far off date. And then that was fine because nobody was disappointed when it stayed out, whereas instead of having to cancel the book pre-order and push it or delay it, it just stayed at that far off date instead of getting pulled forward. Whereas with this book, she's been able to move it up twice. It was originally listed as coming in January of 2027. She moved it up to October when she's been in like, and I think part of it, she's shared this a little bit, is like her kids are older now and there's less things that she's involved in their lives, right? But she also had a lot of vacations this year, so you never know how much you're going to get done, right? That's just me guessing based on stuff I've seen on socials and stuff that's been posted in her groups, not her directly telling me that. I'm just guessing. But there was a big gap between some of her books earlier, so it's like obviously there was things happening when her kids were graduating and when stuff was going on. But sorry, I love Julia Wolf, so I'm just giving you a little bit of insight, just a little bit of inside knowledge. So this book, Let's Be Real, which I believe this one is supposed to be Nate's book. It was originally listed for January. She pulled it up to October. It was going to be October 25th. And just last week, again, I had just put up my September anticipated reads post. It got pulled to September 24th. So now this book is coming another month earlier, which is wonderful. And in all honesty, you know, she has a savvy team. She's really smart because, as I've mentioned, October, just for the books that I read, this isn't even authors that, you know, are others. There is, I believe I'm up to like 25 different books coming out in October, including some of the biggest authors in the fucking world have books coming out next month. So by pulling her book up a month, you know, to a spot where like, it's not like there's nothing coming out, but she's pulled it into a time where there's a lot less competition. People are itching for those other books coming in the next month, but there's still kind of a bit of a, you know, people have time to read her book. Whereas if it was coming in October, it might get drowned. So anyway, that was just me going on a little ramble for her that I didn't need to, but I have enough time. So this book, Let's Be Real, which the cover is getting released the end of the week, so I don't have a cover to share yet, but I'm really excited to see it, is coming in September now, which is great. Okay, then, oh, another one I forgot to mention. I can't believe I forgot to do this, but I think it's because it's not on my TBR because I've already read it. But of course, Wedding or Not by Noelle Adams is coming. It will be for direct sale on September 4th, so it'll be available on all the alternative retail sites, including Noelle's website, where you can buy it direct from her. She will have signed paperbacks available. And then it will be available on KU on September 18th is what we're going for. So there'll be, that one is actually going to have a good lead time. And in this case, as I mentioned, there will be audiobooks available starting on September 4th as well on her website. We're trying this for the first time. And she's going to be listing, I think, a few other audiobooks for the first time as well for sale. We're going to see how that goes, doing some direct sale audiobooks. And hopefully that will be good for some people who don't want to just purchase from Audible. So yeah, that's all right. Then, and I had someone, it's not like anyone was mad. They were just surprised I didn't list this book. But Threshing Day by Rebecca Yarros is coming out on the 29th. And there was a couple of reasons I forgot it. Number one, there was a couple other books coming out that day. So I forgot to list it, but also, in all honesty, I'm not that interested in Threshing Day. That's why I didn't put it, but I totally understand why other people are. I just feel like it's kind of a placating book because the next book isn't ready. I'm just kind of over these books that are like bridge along the way, right? I'm not saying there won't be some fun tidbits in it, and maybe I'll get the audio of it to listen to. Because at the end of Onyx Storm, I did enjoy the, let's say, snippets of other voices that were in that book. And if that's what this kind of is, sure, I'm sure it will be good. I just don't really care. So that was why it wasn't in my anticipated releases. But I put it in here because it's like, you know, if it's going to be however many more months, maybe a year, I have no clue when the next one is coming. Maybe I'll get to it, but it's not one that I want to spend. Like, I was looking what the ebook for this alone is. I don't want to buy a hardcover version of this. That's only, I think it says it's only like, the hardcover of this is still like $18 and it's like 220 pages or something. Like, no, you can't have my money for that. Like, I'm more likely to go to Barnes & Noble and just read this in the coffee shop than like buy a copy of it type of book, you know, because I just don't need the short stories that much. So yeah, but it comes out on the 29th if you want it. The other books that come out that day is The Hunter, and then I have to list this again. See, and this is why I kind of went in the little ramble about Julia Wolf, is that still this debut book that I am really looking forward to, and I feel so bad for the author, because I don't think this was her fault. Her pre-order got canceled when she was trying to postpone the book a month because her book wasn't ready again. And I'd wondered because we hadn't gotten the ARCs yet, and this happened again. So Hands Off His Goalie by Laura Laney. This book now that was supposed to come in April, and now it's pushed all the way back to September. And it's one of those where, like, the hype for it, I feel like now can't possibly live up to what this book will be. So I probably wouldn't have even still listed it on a TBR because this author doesn't have any like cachet with me that I'm holding on to read it. And if it gets pushed again into October, where there are, as I said, 25 books coming, it's not going to get read by me until possibly next year. And that's not a horrible critique of her. Like, it's not, you know, well, I don't want to say it's not your fault. Like, you're becoming an author. It's your business now to figure this stuff out. but I do have empathy for you trying to get your first book out, and you know, you want it to be perfect. I get that, but you also you need to get it to ARC readers, and you need to get it going, and you need to get it out there, because it's your first book. It's not going to be perfect anyway. There's no way it can be, but you have so many other things in place, and just keep delaying it. You're setting it up for such like excitement that how can it ever live up to it? And then all you'll have is people being like, I waited 6 months for this book to come out and I hated it, you know, like that's what it's going to say in reviews then, you know? So anyway, that one got pushed again. And her thing was that, she had so many pre-orders too, which I think happened off of some of the viral, like, reels she had go by. I mean, that's how I heard about the book, was one of her, like, it's She's the Man meets, like, heated rivalry. I mean, a straight version of it. And She's the Man meets heated rivalry. And, that's why I signed up for an ARC of it, because I wanted to support a new to me author, and hasn't went anywhere. So anyway, enough of that. Oh, and then one other one, you know, I keep mentioning it. Cross Stitch by the Sea also comes out on the 29th, and I have pre-ordered that. I can't wait to get my copies of that. So those are all the new ones that are coming out. See, I still found a way to talk about those. So now let's talk about what my like possible TBR choices are. I've so far been pretty good for the last 3 months with those, with my alternative TBR choices. I've just put a few in there. Let's look, going back to July. I've just put a few in there to give myself some like books to read just for joy. And that's been really good to do. Like, that's really helped keep my morale up, as it were. Also, just not overdoing the TBR has meant that I've let myself feel very like free to continue reading fanfics. You know, that hasn't been a problem, though I have been kind of keeping it to like 1 a week is kind of what I've been doing, and then trying to fit in like older TBR books, right? Like, that's what I did last week. I read like 1 fanfic, and then when I would normally go to bed and read a fanfic, I was like, hey, what about one of your older TBR books you didn't get to? And I read Vicious Obsession instead, and that was good. So I've been doing that. But one book we need to add to this TBR for sure is the book that you guys actually voted on. So if you'll remember, there was a video I did 6 weeks ago or so, which was help me pick a book to put on my TBR. And it was vote on this book by its cover, basically. Now, not a ton of people saw it because the algorithm's been being weird. You guys know I talk about it all the time, but these are the ebbs and flows. But basically, I had, I think, 10-ish different books where I had you guys vote on which one you'd like me to add. Now, the way that I did that is it was based on both comments and upvotes, which books, or like how I counted it, right? Because I did say in the video, if you already see the one that you want to vote for, give it a thumbs up. So that's how I did this. So out of the, I think, 10 that were in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them got votes. And the top 3 vote getters were the Charlotte Mallory, the Nicole Van, and the Julia Wolf. But the one that got the most with 5 votes was Love Practically by Nicole Van. And I'm really happy about this, actually. So this is the one that I am going to read for, specifically for that prompt, because the whole point of this one was I have a prompt on my, I should show it off. In case you guys didn't see that video, but I will link that video for you. I have this little prompt board that I made, which is almost full. It's kind of cool, that I did as a little book challenge for myself. I have one other one I need to cross off, actually. That is like, I bought it for the cover. It's one of my prompts. And I had you guys vote on that one to help me cross off all of my squares. Because I couldn't decide which one to do, because I do buy a lot of books for their cover. And this Nicole Van was one of them that I put on there because I think it's gorgeous. So this one, which is the first book in the Penleith's Thistlemere series, which I believe is a closed-door historical romance, but I've heard it is a deeply romantic series. And I mean, I'm in the mood for that. So I've heard wonderful things from so many of my viewers and from my friends about how much they love this series. Why did my lighting just do that? There we go. So I really want to try this. And I believe there are audios for these, even if they're not. I've been in the mood for reading historicals by physical, so my goal is to get through this by the end of the year, but because September is a lighter month, I want to try to get to this one. So that one's on there. Now, in addition though, one of the other books that happened to be in that video is also going to be on my TBR, which it's been on multiple TBRs, so take this with a grain of salt, y'all. But the audiobook for this did recently just come out, and I talk about it in that video. And the third book in the series is coming out in September. So if I end up really liking this, I could be in the mood to binge all three of them. So I am tentatively putting The Weaver back on the TBR again. I know maybe I'm just being, idealistic, but I do want to get back into these. And having the audio, I think, will at least help boost me into it because I like who their narrator is. So I'm putting this one back on there as well. But officially the one for the prompt is going to be this one because that's what you guys voted on. I so want to get this. And I want to get the Hunter when it comes out. So I have all three of these covers because they're so beautiful. And to be honest, Tiffany and Robert do have this thing where they change their covers a lot, which I don't mind because they always get fantastic artists. And they're always hiring artists who, do everything technically so beautiful. So I want to support them as well. But I just love their covers for these. So yeah, I'm having that on there. Then a few others that are on here. So one of them, I've mentioned that I'm continuing with my reread of the Brian saga, and I mentioned this on my last weekly wrap-up, if you watched it, that I realized I'd kind of made a mistake when I went from Hatchet to Brian's Winter, because technically it goes the Hatchet, the River, Brian's Winter, the Return, the Hunt, and so I'd messed that up. But either way, it's fine because I want to reread all of them. So I'm going to be rereading The River in September and continuing rereading these. So this is the one where I'll just read the little back of this here. So this is the one now where Brian's Winter is told as kind of a what-if scenario. That's why this is actually the follow-up to Hatchet, because Brian's Winter is what if Brian didn't get saved at the end of Hatchet, because in Hatchet, he gets saved at the end of Hatchet after being in the wilderness for 54 days. Now, in this one, 2 years ago, Brian Robeson was stranded alone in the wilderness for 54 days with nothing but a hatchet. He survived. Now the government wants him to do it again, to go back into the wilderness so that astronauts and the military can learn the survival techniques that kept him alive. This time he won't be alone. Derek Holzer, a government psychologist, will accompany him. But during a freak storm, Derek is hit by lightning and falls into a coma, and their radio transmitter is dead. Brian's only hope is to build a raft and try to transport Derek 100 miles down the river to a trading post if the map he has is accurate. So now he just upped the stakes because he not only is trying to save himself, but he's trying to bring a man in a coma down the river. And if it's 2 years later, that means he's only 15. So we continue the adventures of a child trying to do what you know, grown men barely can. But that was fun when I was a kid. So gonna keep rereading those and just loving what Gary Paulson is reading. And I mentioned this in, again, I don't know whether it was in the vlog or whether it was in my last wrap up, but I think it was in the last wrap up, I mentioned that I want to try reading, once I finish my reread of this, I want to try reading some other of Gary's books, not just ones I read as a kid. So if you have a suggestion of which of his books outside of the Hatchet world I should read, I mean, I've obviously heard a lot about Dog Song, but whether fiction or nonfiction, let me know if you've read some of Gary Paulson's books and which ones you think I'd like. Obviously, I love survival ones. But I don't know anything about the rest of his backlist, so let me know. Okay, then I also have on my list Like Father, Like Son, which I shared in a book haul that I recently bought a signed copy of this from Daisy Jane. This was a recent release from her. This is an romance, and it is between two professors on campus. And I believe one of them is like demisexual or believes he was asexual. I think it's demisexual. But I've read one of those before, but I want to read this one. It's just so hot looking. So they like share an office together on campus. And this is their romance. I've got the audiobook for this one, and I want to get caught up on the Kings of Vegas before Vicious King comes out. Or is it Vicious King? Yes. So I have the audio for Blood King by Natalie Kane. Yeah, I got these from her on release, and I want to catch up. So let me show these off. They're so pretty. So I have the audio for this one. Then I also have the audio, and I'd had the ARC of this book, but I hadn't signed up for this ARC. I didn't realize I was still on her ARC team, so I didn't really ask for this ARC. But when the book came out, I went ahead and bought the audiobook and the ebook so that I wasn't just like mooching off of this author's ARC team. Like, I do love this author, but I didn't like the last book in the series, but I want to try this one. So I have the audio of The Risk Taker by Elle Nickel, and I believe this is the last book in that series. So I do want to finish the series out. This is the series that I first tried with her. Like, The Matchmaker was the first book, and I did like the oh shoot, I forgot what the second one was. I liked book 2 as well, and it was book 3 that I didn't really care for, and then this is book 4. And then I also want to continue the Michelle Hurd series that I'm in the middle of, because I'm way behind on her books. Usually I'm only a couple books behind, but I've gotten really behind because there's just been so many audio. I haven't been as much in an audio mood lately, and so that means I've only been listening to my ALCs that I have, and I haven't had as much time for others. So I have The Empress by Michelle Hurd. And then I have Catherine by Minerva Spencer, which I've had for ages now that I want to get to. Though she keeps I hate saying it that way, but there's still Daughtry to come out in that series, so it's not like I'm completely behind. But Catherine, I want to get to. And yeah, so the couple other things I want to mention about in September before I wrap this up. So Catherine, I will probably listen to at the Crafters Retreat this month. So I have a couple of things going on this month. I'm going to a Crafters Fair with my sister the second week of September. Then the fourth week in September is another Crafters Retreat. So we have that in July, September, and October this year. And so when I go to those, I usually like to listen to a historical romance when I'm working on my cross stitching. So I will probably listen to Catherine at that one. Then also Blood of My Blood is supposed to be back. And just one final little thing on this. So if you don't care about the Blood of My Blood, TV recaps, you're welcome to tap out now, because this is just going to be a little bit. I want to get some people's thoughts on that who actually like care about those. So I am torn on that, because really what I like to provide with my TV recaps is that I do, for whatever show that it is, you know, and I know I get pushback on people from this, but what I like to do is I only really watch shows that are adaptations that I talk about on here anyway. You know, so I've done that with Outlander. I've done that with Off Campus. I've done that with Blood of My Blood. I've done that with Heated Rivalry. I plan to do that with the next seasons of Heated Rivalry, now that I, will have read the books when the show comes out. So, and Blood of My Blood is not like based on anything anymore, right? And so it's really hard for me to just watch it and just talk about it and be like, did I just like it or not? Like that's not the type of content that I do. There are other channels that do that. There are other people that can do that, because the type of service or like content I feel like I provide is the commentary on like how well they're adapting something, which is often, not well. It's often not well. Which is why I don't watch a lot of adaptations, because I just end up feeling very angry. And, sometimes that is good because it offers people a place to vent about things, and that can be cathartic. But I don't like being a bitter, angry person. And that is what Blood of My Blood made me feel, because it felt like we were retconning things. It felt like we were taking characters that there was room to tell the story about. I'm not saying there wasn't, but it felt like we were, just because we hadn't seen every part of their character laid out before, it didn't mean that their inherent characteristics weren't implied in who their children were and in how they were talked about by other people and in what we knew of their history, right? And so when I saw things about how certain characters acted and behaved, and how they betrayed certain people and talked about certain people, it just makes me angry, because it feels like we are, spitting on their graves or jumping up and down on them. And then I constantly get chastised for, well, it's an adaptation. They can do what they want. And I'm like, then why are you watching my content? Because that's what I've said I provide. So I just end up being, I know some people appreciate what I'm doing, but I end up just feeling like I'm being an angry harridan, bitching about stuff nonstop. And if people do want to bitch along with me, then I feel like I've just created a spot where people can complain together. And I also don't like that, even though I'm complaining too, right? I get it. I get it. And then that makes me feel hypocritical, right? So it's just this whole mess of like, I don't want to make a space where all we're doing is critiquing someone else's art, because the actors who do it are very lovely. And even the cast, the crew, the makeup artists, the costume designers, the set, the people, every person who does that puts their heart and soul into it. And even the showrunners who are making it, they're just trying to make, and they were providing lots of jobs. Like, I'm a very empathetic person to that point. So it just ends up feeling like I'm making this like negative space to do it. And that's what I felt like by the end of Blood of My Blood, is that it was futile to continue comparing it to the books, because it's very clear they're not like, and I think it was explained the best way. Like, there's a character from the Outlandish, there's this woman, Doreen, from the Outlander podcast, or I always mispronounce it, I'm so sorry, but I was watching a couple of Doreen's Instagram reels, and she explained it that the best way to look at Blood of My Blood is if it's a if it's a what if scenario, which is fair, but also, why do we have to look at it that way? Like, I don't want to look at a story as if it's fan fiction when they're taking characters that I love. Like, honestly, I have complex but loving thoughts about Dougal Mackenzie. Like, in general, I do have loving thoughts about Dougal Mackenzie because there are good things that he's done. Right. And about Murtagh. Like, anyway, sorry, I'm not going to turn this into a whole thing. We need to wrap it up. But my point is, I am still very conflicted if I want to do the same type of content that I have done for other recaps like this. I don't know how I want to do that because I don't know how to do reactions for it. You know, if I should just do beat by beat breakdowns, because I know people who don't want to actually watch it or don't actually have stars still appreciate my beat by beat breakdowns of things, as well as my snark if I'm giving snark or what I like about it. And then I just don't do comparison for it, but there's just no way for me not. I love these stories too much. And when I see things like the stuff with Murtagh and Jocasta and them making a thing like that, I can't not comment on it. And then I get people saying, well, it's not the same. And I'm like, then why are you watching me? You know, I'm a book reader first. I've always said that. So what do we want? So anyway, I'm happy to hear your thoughts on it. You're welcome to try to convince me because I still don't know yet. And honestly, with how the YouTube algorithm is and how messed up it all is, it's like, it's not like I'm just a little bit self-deprecating. It's not like my regular stuff is getting that many more views anyway. Like, it would tank what I've done already. So why not, if I feel like making them, make it anyway? Because this summer's already kind of been a crapshoot for YouTube anyway. Like, YouTube can't make up its mind what to do with how to promote my channel. So I'm like, well, why not? So anyway, you're welcome to try to convince me. Tell me what you like most about how I did Blood of My Blood, if you liked it. Because, I don't know, maybe there is still a way I could see doing it, and I just don't try to do comparisons. I just watch it, and I'll just say, like, hey, I'm going to be really sarcastic about this, and if you don't want that, go watch someone who'll be nicer about it. Like, if you're going to be bitchy to me, I'm just going to mute you. Because I can do that. I have pretty thick skin for it, for that. So anyway, that's enough for this. Thank you if you watched all the way through the end. I love you so much. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hype this, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodles.